opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a brand new week of Running Point on ysnlive.com. As always, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day, and we thank them constantly for their sponsorship of Running Point. All the twists and turns it has taken. Greenwood Chevrolet has been here since the start. So if you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure to check out Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. No one will take better care of you than them. They go the extra mile for you. Got a lot to do on the show today. Obviously, we have a lot to recap, which is going to be the big chunk, as we had a lot happen over the weekend, and this is what Mondays are all about. Kind of taking a breath, reflecting on what happened over the weekend, and then getting ready for the week that is to come. We have a very busy week on the network, a lot of volleyball, a lot of soccer, and then, of course, week 3 on Friday and Saturday of football. So without further ado, let's dive right in to the recap of the weekend. Pull up your scoreboard on ysnlive.com. If you haven't watched this before, or you're kind of new to how we do things here on YSN, this YSN scoreboard is one of our features that you have to know and you have to be able to get to, because it is a great tool. And as always, it is brought to you by Burnett Pools and Hot Tubs, and we thank them for letting us bring this to you. But the YSN scoreboard is live updated every night, so if you're watching one game, maybe let's say you're watching the well, we'll just go with Hoban because Hoban was up top. So you're watching the Hoban game and it starts to get into blowout territory like it did, and you wanted to just check in on the score of maybe the, let's just say, Holland Poland game, then you could have popped in and you could have seen how that game was going on the scoreboard without having to navigate and leaving your stream. So make sure to utilize this great tool on ysnlive.com, the Burnett Pools and Hot Tubs scoreboard on YSN Live. Let's start at the top left corner of your screen there. It is Hoban, and they got a big win, 44-12. And believe it or not, this game was 13-12, and it looked like it was going to be a tug of war. And then not only did Hoban's offense obviously step up and score 31 unanswered points, but their defense pitched a shutout from that point on to Avery Cathedral Prep. A lot of people thought this was going to be a good game. I feel like Hoban is on this roll where there's going to be a lot of weeks where they're playing really good teams, and you're saying this is going to be a really good game, but the Knights have different expectations, and they win 44-12, a monster win for the Knights in this one. Next on the list, we have East, whose offense struggled in week 1, but broke out strong in week 2 as they win over Cleveland Shaw 58-0. And that's a big momentum boost for the East Bears, who get their first win of the season. The Green Bulldogs, they win in the South Range on an emotional night where the Raiders unveiled their new upgrades to the stadium, and they also honored Coach Yeagley at halftime. A big emotional night for South Range, but Green kind of spoiled the party a little bit. The team out of the Federal League, that's a huge division school, came in, and really it was their passing attack. If you watch this game, they were able to just at the big times, not consistently, not through the whole game. They only scored 21 points, but at the big times when it mattered the most, they were able to cut through that Raiders secondary with really good routes and on the money passes. And when the Raiders have struggled in the past, and that has been a while since they have struggled, or a while since we've seen a regular season game where they have struggled, but it's been their secondary sometimes, and that's what kind of failed them in this particular night. But for South Range side of the coin, they welcomed in Green, who they knew was going to be no slouch. Green plays in the Federal League. They play Hoover. They play Perry. They play a lot of really good football teams. And South Ranch is welcoming in. They kind of, it would have been easy for the Raiders to schedule a very soft opponent for this night, for the big night, for the emotional night, for unveiling their new upgrades. Let's welcome in someone that we know we're going to pound into the ground, make it a fun night. They didn't do that. They said, if we win tonight, it's going to be a big one, and we're going to make sure that we're going to have a party. Now, it didn't work that way for them, but major props for not shying away from competition, which South Range never really does, and they proved that that's their motto again here. First regular season loss for South Range in quite a minute, but they'll regroup. They'll regroup, and they'll go into week 3, where they have Warren JFK coming to town in week 3, so it doesn't get any easier for South Range. And then after Warren JFK, they have to play a very good NE8 schedule. The NE8 starting to really show its teeth in the first 2 weeks of the season. So South Range does not have time to lick its wounds. They're just going to watch the film, learn what they can from it, throw it away, and move on to week 3. They're a very well-coached football team, and you know they'll be mentally ready for Warren JFK next week. Ashtabula Lakeside, NDCL, and the Notre Dame Cathedral Latin Lions, they are a legitimate team as well. They play a very tough schedule, and we kind of said that when we were previewing this game on Friday, that this is going to be a big test for the Dragons, and NDCL proved why. They won 38-8 over Lakeside. Toronto came into East Palestine and laid down the lumber. This was a pretty, competitive game last year, and Toronto said not nearly as much this year. 48-0, they beat East Palestine. Gerard's offense does it again, 49-7 over Liberty, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think Gerard's one of the fastest teams, speed-wise, that we have on the YSN network. They have track stars everywhere on that offense. And if you let them spread you out, which Liberty's defense did, then they're going to just run wild. You have to be able to contain their speed. You have to have good discipline on the perimeters. And if you don't, it's going to be a long day for your offense. This team is very athletic, and that speed is dynamic, and they're going to give a lot of people problems. That's going to be a very interesting NE8 when we go into it, because they're probably the fastest team on the field every time they step onto a conference game. And normally in football, when we talk about teams with a lot of speed, eventually they run into teams that are really physical, and then you go, well, who's going to win that battle? The speedy guys are the ones that want to jam you, and the ones that want to get in your face. So when those matchups happen this season, and they inevitably will, because we're seeing very physical teams in the NE8 already being emerged as that identity this season. I think it's going to be very interesting to see Gerard go up against some of those teams. They're fast, they're quick, they're athletic, and they are running wild right now. 2 straight great offensive performances. They beat Liberty 49-7, the final score there. Let's go into Latonia as Waterloo came in. They ran back the opening kickoff return for a touchdown. That set the tone. Both defenses played really well, but Waterloo had a couple of drives where they were able to put things together, put some balls in the end zone, and they win this one 21-0. But I do want to take a minute to talk about the differences we see in Latonia's football team this year. I think they're going to get a win this year. I do. I think they're going to get a couple maybe, because they're disciplined. They're believing in what the program is selling. You see them have athletes on that field. Like, they have guys that are athletic. They can go make plays. I think Latonia is on the right path. Right path. It didn't work out this week, but I think Latonia, especially in that EOAC where there are some teams that are right on their level, I think Latonia can get some wins this year and really build momentum, build confidence in that program. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about a resurgent Bears program in the next couple of years. I really like what they're doing down there. Western Reserve, they get another close win. This one went into overtime last year, and this year it was one of those ones watching it that you felt like could be going to overtime. It might go into overtime. It's going to be close. It's going to be down the stretch. Didn't go into overtime this time, but it was still one of the most competitive games of the evening. Western Reserve gets a win over Conneaut to avenge last year's overtime loss, 28-24, the final score in that one. We go back up to the top, and we go to Ashtabula St. John, who fell 48-12 over Wycliffe. They're going to keep fighting as they showed a lot of grit in that game. They're a proud program that's going to lace up every week and give the opponent the best shot that they possibly can. Columbiana, oh man, that's two really tough losses in a row. Two games that have been decided by one possession in a row. We're going to learn a lot about Columbiana's mental toughness because it is very hard to bounce back from that kind of adversity and come out the other end. You know, you have to really stand tall. You have to lock arms and say, "Hey, we're right there. We have to make a couple more plays and we win these games. We're 2-0." So, you know, as much as you don't want to reflect on that and let it linger in your mind that we could be 2-0, and if you do that, the wheels can really come off. It does have to give those boys confidence to say, "Hey, we're right there. We're really close. We have to keep trusting the process. We have to keep trusting Coach Spate. And we have to find a way to make game-winning plays to win these close games that we're in and we're competing against." Defense is really good in Columbia. They have really played well. They kept McDonald to 21 points. They kept Lowville to 22 last week. If they, in high school football especially, if you can hold teams consistently 20 to 24 points, you should be able to win a lot of games, especially if you start to hold more of them down to under 20. That should be a good benchmark for this team. And when we talk about teams that have had success over the last years in the area, 10 years, 12, and then definitely going back into old school football, those teams that had a lot of success were averaging giving up 17, 18, 15, 14, in that range, 15 to 20 points per game. So if Columbiana's defense stays the course and their offense finds ways to make a couple plays here and there, then they're going to be okay. McDonald, though, 2-0, and they made their own plays. Like, they're on the opposite side. They made the game-winning plays when it mattered most. 2 weeks in a row, they've been able to do it. And McDonald has some swagger. They're feeling like, hey, we can make those game-winning plays. We can come out in the clutch situations. These two games for McDonald, Southern and Columbiana, I promise you, if they make the playoffs, if they continue to have success, make the playoffs, you're going to get into close games in the playoffs. That's just going to happen. This will pay dividends. Being in these close games and coming out the other end of them with a W shows everyone on that roster what it takes to win close games, what it takes to make game-winning plays, and that's going to be big. That's going to be big for McDonald going forward. We move on to Hubbard, as you can see right there. They smashed Greenville 35-7, the final score. Hubbard proving they can win in multiple ways. You won to win the defensive battle last week with East, where they only scored 10 points, but they hold East to 6. We can do that. Sure. You hold their offense down. Our defense can step up and make high-pressure stops and do enough to win a game. We can do that. And East proved in their game that their offense definitely has firepower. But Hubbard says, hey, our offense can score too. Don't sleep on our offense. Just because we're a defensive-minded team, we can go out there, we can put up points. They put up 35. Hubbard is dangerous because teams that can win football games in different ways are always going to be hard to beat because you can't force them into a corner. If a team's a high-flying offense and they never really play good defense, eventually they run into a really good defense that stops their offense a little bit, and they run into trouble. We saw that just to go into college football really quick, when the Big 12 had the Oklahomas consistently getting to national championships, and they had even Texas. Those really good offenses. That conference was not known for playing good defense at all. And when they ran into a really good defense that slowed them down, they lost those big games. Hubbard's not that way. Hubbard has good defense. Hubbard has good offense, and they are a force to be reckoned with. We moved down the list to Poland, who went down to Howland and smited the Tigers 41-0. Cats rule and dogs drool in that game. Other way around. Sorry, dogs rule and cats drool. I went for the movie reference and I completely messed it up. Welcome to Monday. Poland wins 41-0 over Howland, and man, once again another dominant performance for the Bulldogs, and another one capped off by their great backfield that is very strong, very hard to beat. They're going to be physical up front. You're going to know that you played Poland the next day, and when you look at Poland, you look at Hubbard, you look at Gerard, you look at South Range, and you're thinking, which one of these teams has a little bit of an edge as we go into the regular season of NEA play after this week? It's hard. It's hard to see. Obviously, until someone comes and beats South Range, they're always going to have that little bit of a favorite, swagger to them. They're always going to have that, we should win the conference. We're expected to win the conference. And I don't think people are going to write off South Range in the NE8 until someone proves that they can beat this team. But you look at Gerard, Hubbard, and Poland, they're all looking good. The sad part about it is they have to beat each other up, right? They have to play each other. So, there's going to be one of those teams that comes out as the spearhead, I guess you could say, is the team that could challenge South Range. And I want to remind people that for the last 3 or 4 years, there's been that team that everyone's saying they could beat South Range. This is a team that can really compete. And it feels like in those kind of games in the last 3 or 4 years, the Raiders have taken it into a next level. They've taken their foot to the gas, and they feel like if the media is saying this team is the team that can beat them, that gasses them up a little bit more. So I'm going to stay away from that talk for the sake of anyone that wants to beat South Range. I'm just going to say, hey, these teams are good right now. These teams are trying to go out and win an NE8, and they definitely have the pieces to do it. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not going to disrespect South Range by saying that, one of these teams is the one that's going to knock them off. I'm not giving you bulletin board material. I'm trying to help everybody else out. Uniontown Lake, they went into Boardman and won 42-31, but I saw a lot of improvements over Boardman's football team in just 1 week. Coach Duda doing a great job bouncing back from a very tough week 1. We heard him talk about what he wanted to see out of week 2 in his coach's corner that just went up on the website about a day ago. And he just talked a lot about, what he wanted from this team, what he expected from this team. And I think even though they lost, there's no moral victories. I think he's going to look at that tape and see a lot of things that the Spartans did so much better than week 1. Their quarterback, Zach Haas, especially played a really good game and kept Boardman right in this one. Blake, though, too much offense, and Boardman's defense is going to have to make some adjustments. They were a really good defensive team last year. That was one thing that you couldn't knock on the Spartans. It was tough to score against them. I think there was only 1 or 2 games where they gave up more than 35 points, and most of it came in like late game situations when it was out of hand, and they put their second string defense in. So when I look at Boardman and I look at what kind of defense they played last year, and I see 2 teams in a row score a lot of points against them, that's what concerns me the most about this team moving forward. Can their defense make the adjustments and get back to how good the defense was a year ago? We'll see. Boardman has a very tough schedule. They don't shy away from anybody, and they're definitely going to gear up for week 3. Niles got into a offensive shootout with Alliance, and well, you know what they say about airplanes. They can really get up high in altitude, and Niles, dragons can fly too, but apparently technology won the day because Alliance gets a little bit higher on offense, 45-28, they win this game, and they were consistently answering Niles' scores. Like every time Niles would score to make it a one possession game, Alliance would come back and say, "We're gonna hit you right back." Great characteristic of a football team to consistently be able to answer. Niles, they showed resiliency coming back from a tough start to the game, but they can never make that game-winning play that we've been talking about with a couple of other teams. That game-winning play that turns out to be the difference in close games, and Niles couldn't do it this week. They are 1-1, so they'll bounce back. They'll try to take a 2-1 record into NE8 play. Wellsville struggled with Western Madonna, Wheaton Madonna, 32-0. This final score there. The Tigers fall. West Branch, I told you they'd be okay. They go down to Woodridge. They take care of business, 34-13. They right the ship. They played a very good Canfield team in week 1. The reigning state champions. They lost, but they bounced back really nicely with the win there. We go into Beaver Local. Talk about a bounce back. Tough loss for Beaver Local in week 1. The Struthers, probably one they didn't expect to lose. And Austin Klein, in his experience, brings back the Beavers and just runs a flawless offensive performance this time around. 41-20, the final score there. Beaver Local gets the win over Salem. A little bit of revenge. Salem had been taking care of business against the Beavers in the last couple of years with Jackson Johnson under center. So Beaver Local, you knew this was one they were circling, and they got it done. But I do want to say Salem's starting to find that identity a little bit. They're starting to be a little bit better, taking strides, just like Boardman. Dramatic difference from week 1 to week 2. So you see that growth as a coach. You want to see your team get better every week. Maybe win enough games, get into the playoffs, and then say, hey, we have been improving every week. We are a better team, way better team here in November than we were back in August, and that's going to be Salem's goal. Can we be a better team in week 10, a lot better team in week 10 than we were in week 1? They were a better team in week 2 than they were in week 1, so now you have to win the next week. Can we be better in week 3? Can we be better in week 4? Can we be better in week 5? And Salem's going to constantly be competing with themselves. And I think not worrying too much about the other end. Yes, scout the other end. Yes, do your due diligence. But really make the focus on what Salem is doing on their side of the ball and perfecting that before they start worrying about everything the other team is doing. I think that's going to pay dividends for the Quakers. Lisbon is 2-0. They get the hard-fought defensive battle, probably the most defensive battle we saw on Friday night, as they beat Fairport Harding 14-6, and the Blue Devils are 2-0. A great start to the season for them. Talking about a great start that came almost out of nowhere. We didn't know how much East Liverpool struggled last year, but they are 2-0. And I said on Friday, this is a level up from Minerva for sure in Indian Creek. And East Liverpool still passes the test with flying colors, 27-7. The final score there, they beat Indian Creek. A great job by East Liverpool. I love what they're doing down there. Coach Cusick taking over the Potters. And, DJ joked when he took that job, they might be making a statue for him by the end of the season. Well, 2-0 start, he's well on his way to statue status. I'll tell you that much right now. Pymatuning Valley, they went to and beat Middlefield Cardinal. Final score 28-13 there. We had Lowville. They went to Campbell Memorial and cooled off the Red Devils, who scored 33 points in week 1, but were only able to score 14 in week 2. This was an interesting game for me because I wanted to see how much of Lowville we really saw in week 1. Like how much of that was legitimate and how much of that was fool's gold. And they proved, hey, we're going up against a hungry team that is improved, that is trying to prove to everyone else how good they are. This is going to be a tough game in Campbell on the road. And Lowville takes care of business. Both road games, both wins, 33-14. Good job, Rockets. Rittman took it to Wyndham, 52-0, the final score there. Really impressed with Jackson Milton going to Newton Falls, getting the win 47-14. This is a good Newton Falls team. This is a quality Tigers team. Likes to run the ball, likes to control the clock. Hard to score a lot of points against them, but I'll give Jacksonville a lot of credit. They set the tone early. I said this on the scoreboard show with Mike Ackelson. They got momentum very early in the game. They took a lead very quick. And when running first teams like Newton Falls get far behind, then the wheels can fall off pretty quick because those offenses aren't built to come back. They're built for long, sustained drives to hold the lead. So when you have to come back and score quickly, sometimes Newton Falls and teams that are set up like them are going to struggle. They definitely did on Friday night. 47-14, the final score. Both of our reigning state champions lost on Friday, a very unfortunate turn of events as Canfield goes on the road against Mansfield, and they lose 24-14 in that one. Let's go to the final row, and I want to give a little pat on the back that figured out the scrolling situation. If you remember last week, oh man, I couldn't get that scroll to go all the way over to the scores on the right side, and it was a rough time for Anthony, and he's figured it out. So let's go to Fitch. They played a very good game for about 3.5 quarters, and then Central Valley kind of shocked them at the end. Final score there, 36-35. Central Valley kind of went to a true style triple option halfway through the game. You know, they'd always been the running team, but they kind of switched things up, switched formations up, went to that true triple option. And as a Georgia Tech fan, I'll tell you that triple option is a very big equalizer if you're not at the level of talent the other team is. And I'm not saying Central Valley isn't, but when you're losing and you're down and you're trying to find a way to bridge that gap, triple option offense can definitely do it because it requires the defense to be so assignment sound, so disciplined. You have to stick with your guy. It's a very hard offense to defend, especially when it's on the fly in the middle of the game. And that's when Central Valley got some momentum using that offense, and they rolled. They rolled in the final stages of that game, and they win 36-35. A tough one for Fitch. They're going to have to bounce back from it. No rest for the weary for the Falcons. Edgewood. Are you kidding me? Yeah, okay, we get it. You can score 58-0. Edgewood gets to win. That is 2 straight weeks. The Warriors have scored more than 50 points and have allowed 0. They are still averaging 0 points per game given up on defense, and their offense is averaging 50 points per game. I would say that is good. I would say that is a good formula to win games, I think. So Edgewood, we're going to keep an eye on them. Who's going to be the first to score on Edgewood? Put your answers in the poll. We'll take a fan poll. What team is going to be the first to score on Edgewood? Lakeview goes to Jefferson, gets the win over the old NE8 rival pretty handedly. 32-13, the final score there. It's a tough road trip to go to Jefferson and succeed. Lakeview does that, and they continue their strong start to the season, just like last year. We talked about Lakeview last week and what kind of start they got to a season ago, and now they're just trying to take the next step, get off to a good start again, but don't let off the gas pedal this time around and really show the NE8 what you're all about. That's what Lakeview's trying to do. They definitely returned a lot of players from last year, and you can tell they're starting to buy into this program, and I have the utmost respect for what Lakeview is doing. Springfield, they were angry. They were angry. They lost last week to South Range, and they probably didn't play anywhere close to what they thought was their best football. They didn't want to take anything away from the Raiders and how good they are and how good of a game they played. But, you know, hearing them talk with Steve Leslie in the middle of the week at the Tigers table, you could kind of tell that Springfield felt like, yes, South Range played well. Yes, they beat us, but we didn't really help ourselves out at all either. And they stirred things up really quick. They were an angry bunch of football players, and they went into Brookfield, won 42-7. I said this on the scoreboard show. Brookfield picked the worst possible week to play Springfield. Coming off of that loss to South Range, they were just mad at everything and everyone, and Brookfield, they didn't do anything, but they took the punishment of that anger, and Springfield rolls on the road 42-7. Southern was angry too. Southern was in the same boat as Springfield, lost a game. Maybe not even the same boat, because I think a lot of people probably picked Southern to win that game last week against McDonald. Springfield was probably the underdog against South Range. Southern was not the underdog at all. They got stunned, and they had to bounce back quick. They did against Crestview, 38-6. Final score. Southern rolls in that one. Ursuline goes on the road and beats Padua Franciscan by a big score 2 years in a row. Last year, remember, Padua came into Youngstown. It was all Ursuline, and it's all Ursuline again. 38-7, the final score there. Middle Ridge is 2-0. Not as dramatic this time around. Maybe the Middle Ridge fans didn't get their popcorn and everything they paid for, but as far as drama, but they definitely got everything they paid for as far as winning. 49-14, they get the win over Orange on the road, Middle Ridge. And then last on Friday, Struthers fell to Geneva 31-22. Struthers is now 1-1 on the season. So outside of Struthers, though, this is what I was talking about. Everyone in the NE8 had a really good week too, and is really starting to look really good. Niles, they struggled, but I think Niles is different than Geneva. I think Niles played a really good team that is going to probably be fighting for an EBC championship. I think Struthers is a team that probably could have beaten Geneva. They had chances to beat Geneva. I feel a little bit better about Niles coming off of week 2 than I do about Struthers. Struthers is going to have to bounce back. They had a really good week 1. Get some consistency in that program, which I'm sure they will. They have a really good coaching staff. But that's like if I had to pick between Niles and Struthers, who are the 2 NE8 teams that fell, which one I think can not hit the panic. I'm not saying either one's hitting the panic button, but which one is less inclined to start to lean towards the panic button? It would be Niles for me, my humble opinion, after week 2. We'll see. They have one more week to prepare for conference play. They both want to go into NE8 play 2-1. We'll see if they can do that. Let's go into Saturday. We definitely had some games on Saturday. Football, this one was a little bit of a surprise. Not the result, but the score. Garfield comes into Warren JFK, and they just put their foot down. Whatever way you want to describe a beatdown, they did it 61-28. This is not something you see JFK's defense give up a lot, but Eric Geddes, if you haven't watched him play, he's sneaky because everyone's keyed in on Garrettsville run game, and that's for sure a strong strength of the team. But Eric Geddes can really throw the ball, and he hit a couple of big touchdowns through the air that I'm sure took JFK a little bit off guard because they were so keyed in on the run. They were so keyed into stopping Keegan Sell in that run game. Garfield, they seem like a dynamic offense this year that wants to run first, but you're not going to get them in those situations where if you take away the run, they have nowhere to go, which is what we saw them in a couple of years past. Really, really good, dominant run game, beat most teams with it. But when they got into a defense that had a line that could get penetration and stop that run game, their pass game just wasn't enough to win a game. This year, I think it's different. I think Garfield has more than enough through the air if they have to, especially when the run game is going and they can set up that play action. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Another surprise, LeBray goes and beats Valley Christian 20-0. A stunner for the Vikings as they get some defensive turnovers and they take full advantage of every mistake Valley Christian made. Big win for the Vikings. They struggled last year. They struggled in week 1. They come and they beat a team that was excellent last year, a team that everybody's high on, and they roll 20-0 final score. LeBray beats Valley Christian. Champion last one on Saturday. Remember, this game was moved to Saturday because of power issues in Rootstown. Champion loses to the Rovers 41-0, the final score there. Let's move on to volleyball. A lot of volleyball on Saturday. We had a tri-match in Howland, and West Branch edges Howland 3-2, and then loses to Hathaway Brown 3-0, and then Fitch beat Maslin Perry 3-1. Big start of the season for Fitch. We saw East Liverpool beat Gerard 3-2. A very exciting game in 5 sets between East Liverpool and Gerard. Every set was pretty competitive. Gerard, though, did give away one set. There was one set where it was 25-13. I believe it was set 2. And when you're playing a really good team and it's back and forth and you're both winning competitive sets, you can't give one away. And they did. And they lose 3 sets to 2. But good news for Gerard. Brie Littell, their senior superstar, she was able to get to her 1,000 kill milestone. So congratulations to Brie Littell, the second volleyball player of the season to get to that 1,000 milestone. We saw Megan Klockner get to 1,000 assists earlier last week, and now we see Brie Littell get to 1,000 career kills here against East Liverpool, and we are very close to watching Riley Simons get to 1,000 career assists as a sophomore. Ooh, we'll talk about that more tomorrow as Fitch gears up for another game against Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, where she has a chance to get those 27 assists and rack up 1,000 career assists as a sophomore. Hoban came back from a 2-0 deficit and won 3-2 over Twinsburg. Very impressive. Amber Watson did her thing. She has over 50 kills already in the season in 4 games. Hoban's 4-0. She had 17 against Twinsburg, and Hoban has proven that they are a team that can really compete in Division I this year in volleyball. Ursuline swept Salem 3-0. The final score there. Ursuline on a hot start. They are 4-0 on the season. Louisville, I was at this game. They came in and swept Boardman 3-0. Two very scrappy volleyball teams. 2 teams that made a lot of, oh my gosh, I can't believe they got to that ball kind of plays. I really like Boardman's offensive flow. I think Ava Commons is doing a really good job as a setter. Chicolo plays really good defense as a libero, probably one of the best liberos in the area. But one of the things that I saw on Saturday was just sometimes just a little bit of inconsistency putting the ball away and being able to take those hard swings on good sets. You can't be timid as a hitter against a team like Louisville. They will take care of you. Their defense was just as good, and Addison Burke is a very good setter. Already has 1,000 career assists. Got that her junior year, and she ran that offense well. A very spread out offense for Louisville as they come in and get the sweep 3-0 over Boardman. Brookfield beat Heartland Christian 3-1, the final score there. And that was your last volleyball score of the day. So let's move into some soccer that was happening. I spoke too soon. There it is. Some soccer that was happening over the... See, this is what I'm talking about. Ursuline and JFK tied. Salem beat Mooney. And then Canfield was able to beat Kenston in girls soccer. One boys soccer game, we saw Ursuline and JFK draw at 2. So those were the scores from the soccer field, the volleyball court, and the football field. Take a deep breath because that's a lot to recap and a lot to digest from a weekend full of sports. We'll take that down and we will take a quick break on Running Point. We have to pay the bills and say hi to some of our sponsors. When we get back, we'll have more on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Don't go anywhere.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Clint. Hi, this is Steve Rossetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dogs.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
We believe expectations are made to be exceeded. At the new Toyota of Warren, it's about more than just getting a great deal. It's about service you can count on and a friendship you can trust. Year after year, we've done what we do best. We've gone the extra mile so you could too. Because we know it's just not about buying a new car. It's the start of a new adventure. Toyota of Warren, driven by you.
Nestled here in the beauty and splendor of Mill Creek Metro Parks are two of America's best golf courses, as selected by Golf Week magazine. Ranked number 9 in Ohio by TripAdvisor. Come play like a pro on these award-winning Donald Ross-designed courses. Enjoy a round with your kids and unwind with your favorite food and drinks in the grill room. For championship golf, look no further than your backyard. Mill Creek Golf Course.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I want to share some words about Greenwood Chevrolet and what they have going on right now. And on their lot, they have a 2020 Mazda CX-5 that is looking for its new owner. Is it you? Let Greenwood know if you're a go for this vehicle. And here's some information on it. It likes it's a dating service. I like it. It likes peaceful drives with the family. It's only had one owner, and it's someone who values sophistication and safety. And it looks sharp, man. Even they have a little shot from the back, kind of you know what they're going for. Greenwood Chevrolet, always the clever ones on social media. But it is the highlight of they are not just where you can get new cars like the 2024 tracks that we've always talked about, where it's the only place where you can test drive the new 2024 Chevy tracks, but also used cars too. So if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure to check out Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you, and we want to thank them every day for their constant support of Running Point. Let's go into back to the schedule because we're going to talk about tonight and what's going on tonight across the network. Let's bring up Monday because we're stuck on Saturday right now. So we go into tonight and we look at the volleyball scene, and it's pretty busy. Edgewood taking on Grand Valley, as that's a Ashtabula County matchup, a 4-4-0 goal matchup. Edgewood on a roll right now under Kira Venzel, the wonderful head coach for Edgewood, and they'll try to go on the road and beat a undefeated Grand Valley team. Granted, only 2-0, but undefeated nonetheless. Hubbard and East are going to square it off in Hubbard tonight. Southern Local is going to welcome in Conotton Valley, a non-conference matchup for the Indians. Edison is going to be welcoming in East Liverpool. This will be an interesting matchup. Edison has had a couple of big wins already. And East Liverpool would be a huge win coming off of a 5-set victory over Gerard. East Liverpool is riding high, but they can't sleep on the Wildcats, who are having a pretty good season in their own right. Urson will try to stay undefeated as they go to Lakeside, who's had kind of a disappointing start to the year. Lakeside has a lot of talent on that team, and they're trying to get back on track. They're going to have to do it against undefeated Ursuline tonight in Ashtabula County. I will be at this next one, Columbiana hosting Cardinal Mooney in a very interesting non-conference match. Columbiana has started off the season very hot. Mooney just two games under their belt, They are 1-1. They lost a 5-set game to Springfield, and they're trying to get some momentum as this is their first full week of volleyball coming up here between today and Thursday. Sebring will go to Valley Christian in a EOAC matchup. Campbell Memorial will stay in MVAC play. They're traveling to Lowville. This will be interesting because Campbell wants to be a contender in MVAC play. Now, I know this is a cross-tier matchup, but Lowville is off to a pretty impressive start. They're definitely having some players there that are showing their ability to wreck a defense, swing hard. I'm interested in this game. If Campbell wants to definitely be a team that the MVAC looks at and fears, Campbell's got to win this game kind of decisively. They got to go on the road. They have to prove that they can beat the other's tier, which is mainly made up of smaller schools. They have to be able to do that. So I'm really interested to see how Campbell handles a pretty sneakily tough road test against the Rockets. Champion going to Poland. Poland coming off their first win of the year. Champion having an up and down start to the season. They're trying to gain some consistency. It'll be a tough one against the Bulldogs. Heartland Christian host Western Reserve as they try to gear up to get back into league play. Western Reserve, another team off to a great start so far this season. Newton Falls will host Jackson Milton tonight. Latonia trying to get their second win of the year. They are 1-1 on the season. They will host Malvern. And last but not least, another interesting one inside that MVAC, a cross-tier matchup between Springfield and Liberty. I think Liberty's in the same boat as Campbell. They want to prove that they can be a team that can beat the top tier of the MVAC, that can compete with them, they can go toe-to-toe with them. They lost to Crestview already in a big one at home. So they need to come and protect their home court against the smaller team and win this game if they want to get some respect inside their own tier of the MVAC. We look at boys soccer happening tonight. It is going to be Mineral Ridge hosting Badger. We have Columbiana. They're going to be hosting East Palestine in the EOAC matchup. Jackson Milton will be hosting Heartland Christian. And Campbell Memorial, who is a very good boys soccer team, very good start to the season, they'll be hosting Liberty. We also have Columbiana. They're hosting Struthers. West Branch goes to Berkshire. We'll scroll over to the side and check out the girls soccer matchups happening. Now it goes all the way over to the side. I don't know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, because we saw on that Saturday page, obviously I couldn't get it all the way over, and now it just goes over smoothly. Oh, I'm going to have to figure that out. Girls soccer. I think it's my computer, honestly, because when I was working the scoreboard with the Joe Dickey Electric Sports Show, everything was just right on point like it always is with the Burnett pools and hot tubs. Scoreboard on ysnlive.com. So I think it's honestly probably the way my laptop is formatted. Crestview will go to Brookfield in girls soccer. The last time we saw Crestview, they got into a very awesome, very entertaining matchup with Springfield where they tied with the Tigers 4-4. So their offense is going to look to stay hot in the MVAC and get a win over the Warriors, who scrappy team. You know, we talk to a lot of coaches in that MVAC. They always say Brookfield gives us a game. So don't sleep on the Warriors. Hubbard and Girard meeting in the NE8 in girls soccer. A pretty good one in Ursuline versus Howland. We'll be watching that one closely. Beaver Local hosting Oak Glen tonight. That's going to be a 7 p.m. kickoff. The champion girls, who are coming off their first win over Lakeview since 2007, they go back to league play as they squared off with Newton Falls on the road. Warren JFK hosts Southeast tonight. This is a rivalry in the MVAC that has been big for conference standings in years past. Waterloo at Springfield. Want to give a shout out to Waterloo. They have definitely had a blow to their season with Kira English being out for the year. What a hard to hear about. Kira English was talked about a lot in last year's soccer coverage. She's also a great basketball player. She was on pace to break the state record in career goals, and she was right there. And unfortunately, you can't write your own story sometimes, and she's out for the season, so she will not be able to accomplish that task. But plenty of things in her future as she was still signed on to play soccer at the next level. And we definitely hope that she's able to get healthy and find her way on the basketball court before that season's over, so we have a chance to talk about how great of an athlete she is one more time before she graduates. Last but not least, it is going to be Poland girls traveling to South Range, and in girls sports, Poland South Range has become a big rivalry, and no matter what sport you're playing. So that should be a fun one between the Raiders and Bulldogs tonight in South Range. That's going to be a 7 o'clock kickoff. So now that you know all the games that are happening, before we go, let's go over the announcers and what you can find on the network. Excuse me there. That's just my, normal coughing that happens every day. But we go into the... Not yet.
YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go